Today I am going to talk about the social support theory and the model of a family. After I take my lecture, you will know how much important social support is in a community, learn the kind of social support available in a community. You will also know about the role of family members in providing support to individual members, the benefits and cost of social support, and the extent to which families make a change in the community. Let me begin by talking about social support. Social support is the perception and actuality that one is cared for, has assistance available from other people, and that one is part of a supportive social network. These supportive resources can be emotional, for example, nurturance. They are tangible, for example, emotional assistance. They can be informational, for example, advice, or could be companionship, for example, the sense of belongingness. They could also be intangible, for example, personal advice. Let me talk about family as a unit first. A family is a group of people affiliated by consanguinity, by recognized birth, affinity, that is by marriage, or co-residence, that is the shared consumption. Members of the immediate family may include a spouse, a parent, brother and sister, son and daughter. Members of the extended family may include grandparents, aunt, uncle, cousin, nephews, nieces and siblings or in-laws. Families play a vital role in the community by helping the members of the community understand the problems, solve them, and increase resilience. Social support is also very necessary to cope with problems at the base level so that the problems do not become severe. Social support is the perception and actuality that one is cared for, has assistance available from other people, and that one is part of a supportive social network. These supportive resources can be emotional, like I said, it could be nurturance, they could be tangible, informational, or companionship, and intangible. Support can come from many sources, such as the family, friends, pets, organizations, co-workers, so on and so forth. Government provides social support. It is often referred to as the public aid. Two main models have been proposed to describe the link between social support and health: the buffering hypothesis and the direct effects hypothesis. Gender and cultural differences in social support have also been found. Let me begin by talking about the sources. Like I said, the social support can come from a variety of sources, including but not limited to the family, friends, romantic partners, pets, community ties, and co-workers. Sources of support can be natural, for example, that the ones which come from the family or friends. They could be formal, for example, from the mental health specialists or community organizations. Support from a romantic partner is associated with mental health benefits, particularly for men. Early familial social support has been shown to be important in children's abilities to develop social competencies, and also supportive parental relationships have been found to be beneficial for college-aged students as well. What are the costs that are involved? Although there are many benefits of social support, it is not always beneficial. It has been proposed that in order for social support to be beneficial, the social support desired by the provider has to match the support given to him or her. This is known as the matching hypothesis. That means that what is desired should match what is received. So, in case what is desired matches more what is received, the matching hypothesis states that the social support is more beneficial. Psychological stress may increase if a different type of support is provided than what the recipient actually wishes to receive. For example, information is given when emotional support is sought. So what the recipient actually wanted was emotional support, but what he receives is informational support. Additionally, elevated levels of perceived stress can impact the effect of social support on health-related outcomes. Other costs have been associated with social support. For example, received support has not been linked consistently to either physical or mental health. If anything, received support has surprisingly been linked to worse mental health. Additionally, if social support is overly intrusive, it can increase the stress. Let me now talk about the models and theories. There are two dominant models. The two dominant model hypotheses addressing the link between the social support and health, the buffering hypothesis and the direct effects hypothesis. The main difference between these two hypotheses is that the direct effects hypothesis predicts that social support is beneficial all the time, while the buffering hypothesis predicts that social support is mostly beneficial during stressful times. In the buffering hypothesis, social support protects, or let's use the word buffers, people from the bad effects of stressful life events, like for example, death of a spouse or loss of a job. Evidence for stress buffering is found when the correlation between stressful events and poor health is weaker for people with high social support than for people with low social support. The weak correlation between stress and health for people with high social support is often interpreted to mean that social support has protected people from stress. Stress buffering is more likely to be observed for perceived support than for social integration or received support. In the direct effects, also called the main effects hypothesis, people with high social support are in better health than people with low social support, regardless of the type of stress. In addition to showing buffering effects, perceived support also shows consistent direct effects for mental health outcomes. Both the perceived support and social integration show main effects for physical health outcomes. However, received or enacted support rarely shows main effects. Let's move on to the theories. Several theories have been proposed to explain social support's link to health. Stress and coping social support theory dominates social support research and is designed to explain the buffering hypothesis that I talked about earlier. According to this theory, social support protects people from the bad health effects of stressful events, that is, the stress buffering, by influencing how people think about and cope with the events. According to the stress and coping theory, events are stressful insofar as people have negative thoughts about the event, that is, how they appraise it, and cope ineffectively. Coping consists of deliberate, conscious actions such as problem solving or relaxation. As applied to social support, stress and coping theory suggests that social support promotes adaptive appraisal and coping. Evidence for stress and coping social support theory is found in studies that observe stress buffering effects for perceived social support. One problem with this theory is that, like I talked about earlier, stress buffering is not seen for social integration, and that received support is typically not linked to better health outcomes. Let me talk about the relational regulation theory now, also known as RRT, which is designed to explain main effects, that is, the direct effects hypothesis between perceived support and mental health. Like I told you earlier, perceived support has been found to have both buffering and direct effects on mental health. The relational regulation theory was proposed in order to explain perceived support's main effects on health, which is mental health, which cannot be explained by the stress and coping theory. The RRT hypothesizes that the link between the perceived support and mental health comes from people regulating their emotions through ordinary conversations and shared activities rather than through conversations on how to cope with stress. This regulation is relational in that the support providers, conversation topics, and activities that help regulate emotions are primarily a matter of personal taste. Now, this is supported by previous work showing that the largest part of perceived support is relational in nature. Lifespan theory is another theory to explain the links of social support and health, which emphasizes the differences between perceived and received support. According to this theory, social support develops throughout the lifespan, but especially in childhood attachment with parents. Social support develops along with adaptive personality traits such as low hostility, low neuroticism, high optimism, as well as social and coping skills. Together, support and other aspects of personality influence health largely by promoting health practices, that is, exercise and weight management, and by preventing health related stressors, that is, stress that one gets from loss of a job or a divorce or separation. Evidence for lifespan theory includes that a portion of perceived support is trait-like, and that perceived support is linked to adaptive personality characteristics and attachment experiences. Let me talk about the support groups. Social support groups can be a source of informational support by providing valuable educational information and emotional support, including encouragement from people experiencing similar circumstances. Studies have generally found beneficial effects for social support group interventions for various conditions, including internet support groups. I'm going to talk about providing support now. There are both costs and benefits to providing support to others. Providing long-term care or support for someone else is a chronic stressor that has been associated with anxiety, depression, alterations in the immune system, and increased mortality. However, providing support has been associated with health benefits. In fact, providing instrumental support to friends, relatives, and neighbors, or emotional support to spouses has been linked to a significant decrease in the risk of mortality. Also, a recent neuroimaging study found that giving support to a significant other during a distressful experience increased activation in reward areas of the brain. Let's move on to gender differences. Gender differences have been found in social support research. Women provide more social support to others, and are more engaged in their social networks. Evidence has also supported the notion that women may be better providers of social support as compared to men. In addition to being more involved in giving of support, women are also more likely to seek out social support to deal with stress. Additionally, social support may be more beneficial to women. Shelley Taylor and her colleagues have suggested that these gender differences in social support may stem from a biological difference between men and women and how they respond to stress. That is, fight or flight versus tend and befriend. Married men are less likely to be depressed compared to non-married men after the presence of a particular stressor because men are able to delegate their emotional burdens to their partner. And women have also shown to be influenced and act more in reaction to social context compared to men. Now I'm going to talk about family. A family is a group of people affiliated by consanguinity, by recognized birth, affinity by marriage, or co-residence or shared consumption. Members of the immediate family may include a spouse, a parent, brother, sister, son and daughter, whereas members of the extended family may include grandparents, uncle, aunt, cousins, nephews, niece, siblings, in-laws. Close family members often share personal information with each other that they would not share with anyone else in the world. Let me give you a theoretical explanation. Environment within the family system is viewed as an open system and a component of the larger community and society, with the assumption that families benefit from and contribute to the network of relationships and resources in the community. Harmony is necessary for balance within the individual, the family and the community. Achieving and maintaining harmony with oneself, family and community are very important social goals. Moving on to the resiliency model of family stress, adjustment and adaptation. Family adaptation is described in the resiliency model for family stress, adjustment and adaptation as the outcome of the family's efforts over time to bring a fit at two levels, the individual to family and the family to the community. This process ranges on a continuum from optimal adaptation to maladaptation. This model is comprised of two distinct parts. The first one is the adjustment phase and the second one is the adaptation phase. Each phase describes the family's ability to cope with illness or stressors, looking at family's strengths, resources and coping or problem solving abilities. There are four assumptions within the original family stress model developed by Reuben Hill in 1949 and further promoted by Friedman in 1998. These are: number one, unexpected or unplanned events are usually perceived as stressful. Number two, events within the family such as serious illness and defined as stressful are more disruptive than stressors that occur outside the family such as war, flood or depression. Number three, the lack of previous experience with stressor events leads to increased perception of stress. And number four, ambiguous stressor events are more stressful than non-ambiguous events. The expanded model by McCubbin included 5 propositions that describe relationship within the model itself. These propositions describe that in family crisis, number one, the pile-up of family demands, that is stressors, strains, transitions, is related to family adaptation, and this is a negative relationship. family typologies based on specific strengths of the family system, that is cohesion, adaptability, family hardiness, family time and routines are related to family adaptation, and this is a positive relationship. Number 3, the family resources are related to family adaptation, and again this is a positive relationship. Fourthly, the family's positive appraisal of the situation is related to family's adaptation, and this is a positive relationship. The range and the depth of the family's repertoire of coping and problem solving strategies when employed to manage a crisis situation are related to the level of family adaptation, and this is a positive relationship. Let me summarize what I have taught you. Social support plays an indispensable role in a community. It helps the individuals living in the community as well as the community on the whole to deal with the problems efficiently at the grassroots level. Several theories have been proposed to explain social support's link to health. Stress and coping social support theory dominates social support research that is designed to explain the buffering hypothesis that I described to you earlier. According to this theory, social support protects people from the bad health effects of stressful events, that is, stress buffering, by influencing how people think about and cope with the events. Relational regulation theory, RRT, is another theory that is designed to explain main effects, that is the direct effects hypothesis between perceived support and mental health. Lifespan theory is another theory to explain the links of social support and health, which emphasizes the differences between perceived and received support. According to this theory, social support develops throughout the lifespan, but especially in childhood attachment with parents. Social support groups can be a source of informational support by providing valuable educational information and emotional support, including encouragement from people experiencing similar circumstances. Providing support includes both the costs and benefits. Providing long-term care or support for someone else is a chronic stressor that has been associated with anxiety, depression, alterations in the immune system, and increased mortality. However, providing support has also been associated with health benefits. There are gender differences in social support. Shelley Taylor and her colleagues have suggested that these gender differences in social support may stem from the biological differences between men and women in how they respond to stress, that is, fight or flight versus tend and befriend. Families play a very crucial role in helping the members face the problems and overcome them. When it comes to a family, no one can better explain and understand the feeling than parents. In fact, siblings also play a very important role and give the best advice to handle any kind of problem. Peer groups and friends are very important, as the youngsters tend to share everything with them at a comfortable level. Sometimes just talking about issues and problems also help relieve a lot of emotional and psychological stress.